The splash still rings in my ears. Water exploding, screen hissing, my life's work dissolving into a cloud of smoke and static. My brother stood there, smirking like a child who had just knocked over a sandcastle. "Oh, sorry, I accidentally dropped your laptop in the pool." Accident. His word, not mine. And when I turned to my father, waiting, hoping for the bare minimum of justice, he just shrugged. "It's just an accident." That was the moment I stopped being their victim. I didn't argue, I didn't shout, I didn't even flinch. I smiled. And that night, I started my revenge. He'd asked me for $33,000, brazen, entitled. He said it like it was nothing, like my savings were just loose change in his pocket. When I refused, his mask slipped. "You'll regret this," he hissed. Hours later, my laptop sank beneath chlorinated water. It wasn't just a machine, it was my work, my contacts, my access. He knew that. He wanted me gutted. But he underestimated me. I'd always been the quiet one. Growing up, he was the golden child, the one who could crash Dad's car and still get praised for being adventurous, the one who could fail exams and get excuses, while my A's were expected. And me? I was the background, the helper, the fixer, the one who paid bills when Dad forgot, who cleaned up his hangovers, who patched holes my brother left behind. They thought my silence meant weakness, but silence is sharper than a knife if you know when to use it. So when my brother laughed over my drowned laptop, I didn't mourn, I recalculated. Because what he didn't realize was this: my strength was never in the device, it was in the access, the passwords, the accounts, the digital veins of our family's fragile empire. I had built the infrastructure he depended on: banking apps, utility logins, investment dashboards. He never bothered learning. He always came to me with his forgotten passwords, and I always fixed it. That night, I stopped fixing. I started breaking. At 11:37 p.m., I began. One call to the bank, another to the brokerage, a few subtle password resets. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic. Just quiet locks clicking into place. By 2:15 a.m., his accounts were frozen. His credit cards declined. The streaming subscriptions he lived on, gone. By 3 a.m., I rerouted the family trust notifications to my email. He'd wake to silence. By 4 a.m., I transferred my own savings, what was left after his sabotage, into a secure account he couldn't touch. By 5:45 a.m., his world was ashes, though he didn't know it yet. I imagine his face when he woke. Coffee in one hand, phone in the other, scrolling through his balance. Zero. Again. Zero. Transaction failed. Login denied. And then the first wave of panic. The frantic calls to the bank, the long hold times, the dawning realization that the safety net was gone. Because for the first time in his life, he wasn't protected. I had stripped the armor away. He called me at 6:12 a.m. I let it ring out. Then again, and again. By the 10th call, I answered. His voice shook, anger wrapped in fear. "What the hell did you do?" I let him rant, shouted threats, wild accusations. I waited until his voice cracked. Then I spoke, calm as stone. "Accident," I said, and hung up. The fallout was swift. His credit plummeted. His landlord demanded rent he couldn't pay. His car was repossessed within weeks. Dad tried to step in, but his own accounts had been tied to mine for years. Without me, he was just as helpless. The same man who dismissed my ruined laptop as just an accident now watched his precious son spiral, and I didn't lift a finger, because I already had. Weeks later, my brother showed up at my door, eyes sunken, jaw tight, rage eating through him. He tried to act tough, but desperation oozed through every syllable. "You have to fix this," he demanded. I looked him in the eye for the first time in years. No, I said. He blinked, shocked, like the concept of denial had never existed in his universe. You ruined me, he spat. I leaned forward. No, you ruined yourself the moment you thought I wouldn't fight back. I closed the door in his face. Now, when I walk past the pool, I think of that splash, the hiss of a laptop drowning, the smug smile on his face. And then I think of 5:45 a.m., the moment he realized he wasn't invincible, the moment his empire of entitlement collapsed, all because he mistook silence for surrender. But silence was my weapon, and I used it to carve him out of my life. He thought he destroyed me with water, but I drowned him in his own greed. And that's the thing about revenge. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be permanent.